time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Bill Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
It's exciting for our city, for our fans, our administration, all the former players, all the coaches who built this program before me. And now we just want to, go out and put our best foot forward against a really good team and stay true to who we are once we get into the game.
If I could draw on, our experiences last year, we had a tough second round game. So, if that's an eye opener for us, we don't want to rest on our laurels to think that is an automatic win because we're at home. But they are really a very disciplined, well-coached basketball team.
Because we are a loose kind of group, that's good for us. And when it's time to play, we'll go play. And hopefully we're good enough to do that. We've been that way all year. We haven't really let things bother us from the outside. We haven't concerned ourselves with being picked 13th in a preseason. We haven't been too worried that the pundits are picking New Mexico State to win. We just kind of worry about us and what we're doing.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk. South Carolina Radio Network here on a Friday, day 2 of the NCAA main draw. All right, anybody out there still have a perfect bracket?
No. How's yours?
I'm asking the entire audience. I want to hear from one person only.
There's nobody left in our bracket group that has one. The only 3 at the top are at 97%.
Yeah. Where am I?
You are in the 88th percentile, I believe.
That's bad.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. Pardon me. I gave you too much. You're in the 43rd percentile. But don't worry. You're tied with me. But I at least still have my champion intact.
To lose your champion on the first day and to lose them the way they went down, like if I didn't know better, I'd swear they were throwing the game.
There was one year where I lost.
Talk about taking money.
There was one year when I did it for entertainment purposes only, but it was one year I did it and I lost 3 of my final 4 in the first 2 days.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's bad.
And Pro just quietly climbs up the mountain to the top.
He's tied for 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Not bad.
No, but I had Arizona going to the Sweet 16. I did. And Miami let me down yesterday.
Yeah, well, finally we get the state's teams in action tonight. College of Charleston and Auburn in about 90 minutes. And then late tonight, the last game of the first round to tip off, Clemson and New Mexico State, plus the USC women in action tonight over at the CLA in the women's tournament, beginning at about 7:30 against North Carolina A&T. We'll update scores for you here in just a moment. Of course, we've got baseball, a big series both in Columbia, Gamecocks in Florida, and up in Clemson. It's the Tigers and NC State. That should be very good as well. Other teams, of course, around the state playing baseball, and we'll update those games for you as we move on through the program. We'll have the full Monty on NASCAR. They're out in Los Angeles or Fontana, California, where Kevin Harvick was tearing it up again today in practice. That team is just on fire. George Bryan III will be here with some birdies and bogeys from around the state of South Carolina. And, of course, we'll update what's happening at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, where it doesn't matter what Tiger does. That's all people care about. I was watching the replay last night on the Golf Channel, and it's like Tiger is, when he's in a tournament,
the only guy there.
It's like the only guy there. I mean, in terms of the media and the galleries, his gallery stretched all the way down the fairway, all the way around the green. If you were at the back end of the fairway, you couldn't see anything, but you were just part of the gallery, and you were happy to be there.
I hate to make this analogy, but I've made it for many years. Tiger is honestly like cocaine for the casual golf fan. Just can't keep quitting it.
Yeah, you just want to watch him. You just want to follow him. And of course, the television ratings always skyrocket when Tiger is in the field. And today he's finished at even par 72, leaves him at 4 under. So he is 7 shots back of the lead. And we'll go into more details on all that in a little bit. Right now, though, let's go out to San Diego. We're watching West Virginia and Murray State. The Mountaineers in pretty good shape, up 64-51, and covering the pot out there for us in San Diego is Braden Surprenance, who works in radio in the San Diego markets, and we welcome him to Sports Talk tonight. He's been helping us cover Clemson and the College of Charleston. since they arrived in San Diego, and he'll be all over those games tonight. You can follow him on our Twitter feed, which, of course, is Sports Talk SC. He'll be working the games for us from out in San Diego. Braden, how are you?
I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. How's your day been out there? You're into your second game, and what's the atmosphere like? What have the games been like so far?
It's another beautiful, gorgeous day here in San Diego. The locals are a little bit on the colder side than they'd like, but it's not too bad. And they're expecting a little bit of rain today, but it's held off, and it's been a beautiful day as far as the weather's concerned. But the action inside the arena has been great. The first game was unbelievable with Marshall and Wichita State. The way Marshall was able to pull off a major upset that I'm sure messed up a lot of brackets out there. But the atmosphere has been good as far as fans have been concerned. Marshall actually surprisingly had the most people here that I've seen, and then Wichita State had the second most. And then I've seen sporadic Clemson and College of Charleston fans, but the one school I haven't seen yet is New Mexico State, and you wouldn't even think that they're playing in this thing. But as far as the local fan is concerned, this place is a sellout. I've covered a couple times where Viejas has hosted in San Diego, and this is the first time I've actually seen the whole place filled.
Marshall is really a program with great fans. When they were in the Southern Conference and they would play in the Southern Conference tournament in Asheville, they would pack the place. They would have 5,000-6,000. They'd have so many more. So it's not a surprise to me that their fans traveled well. It's been a while since they were in the tournament. And, of course, their coach has South Carolina ties, Dan D'Antoni. So we've obviously have a little bit of interest there. But what you're going to have on Sunday, of course, if this game holds up the way it's going now, you're going to have the in-state rivalry of West Virginia and Marshall.
Yeah, for sure. West Virginia and Marshall, this game's probably going to hold out in West Virginia's favor, but then you can have another matchup on Sunday that I'm sure you guys would love, and College of Charleston and Clemson. And we've seen it before with upsets of the 13 or the 12, getting the 5 or the 4 here in San Diego. A couple years ago in 2014, Stephen F. Austin was able to knock off VCU here as well. So anything can happen. And, I was talking to some College of Charleston people earlier today as the team just kind of rolled in, and, they seem confident. They feel as if, the kids are ready to go. They're not frightened by, the big stage of March Madness. And they said it's a little bit different from when, the championship game of the conference tournament, they seemed a little bit nervous. And then today it's all business, and they're ready to take down Auburn.
Which of the two higher seeds in the evening session would you be more worried about, Auburn or Clemson? I'd be more worried about Clemson, and I don't want to, upset you guys out there, but, there's a lot of hype around this New Mexico State team, even in the media room. And I haven't seen, a lot of New Mexico State people out here, but the fact of the matter is this is a program that's been in the tournament 6 out of the last 7 years. They've had 3 different head coaches in the last 3 years and still made the tournament twice out of those last 3 years. And then that 1 year they didn't make the tournament, they're in the NIT. So, they're a program that wins their conference a lot, but they haven't had too much success in March Madness. They have a huge drought. The last time they won a tournament game here has been in 1970 when they're back in the Final Four. But I don't want to way that football has an impact on basketball here, but they just snapped a 57-year drought of not being able to go to a bowl game. Then they won it when they went to the Arizona Bowl. So they got their fans are a little hyped up. This could be history for them where they win a tournament game and a football bowl game in the same year. So, and the fact that they've been good in the past, I would probably say Clemson is probably got to be a little bit concerned about upset alert.
Well, I think the Tigers are going to have a little chip on their shoulder because they're hearing that upset alert talk, and they realize that people aren't giving them a lot of respect. Yet they finished 4th in the ACC and had a great year for them, and they feel like people should be talking more positively about them. Hey, Braden, we thank you very much. We'll get back in touch. Enjoy the games this evening. Braden Surprenitz out in San Diego, the Viejas Arena, covering the games for us there, and we'll be right back.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Okay, we're back here on Sports Talk. Yeah, make sure you follow Braden Serprinitz out in San Diego covering the College of Charleston and Clemson for us in the games tonight and possibly on Sunday if they're still in action. He'll be handling the Sports Talk Twitter feed. He'll also be providing us post-game coverage, and we'll have those interviews, news conferences up for you on the website, sportstalksc.com, once those games are complete. What's happening over in the women's tournament in Columbia?
39-37, Virginia leads Cal. It's been back and forth. Cal is without one of their top scorers and rebounders in the game, so that's something that obviously for the lower-seeded team they've been having to battle with, but they've led by as many as 8 has Cal, but Virginia up by 2. It's been a back-and-forth contest. Again, the winner of that game between Virginia and Cal, Virginia the 7th-seed, Cal the 10th-seed, would take on either 2nd-seeded South Carolina or 15th-seeded North Carolina A&T.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I would say that most likely it's USC.
It's a little bit of a different twist because as I can remember the games they played here before, South Carolina has played the first game, and the two other teams would play the second game, but they're doing it a little bit differently this year.
I think a lot of that has to do with the they wanted to be able to ensure that the local fans could come out for it, with an evening tip. Also for television purposes, possibly also get them in the evening slot. So it's interesting, and there's 4 teams in there currently, or four sets of games rather in there right now. There's obviously their 2 games inside their pot, and obviously the 2 others that are in the other one as well.
Sure. You know what the problem is when you have a bracket obliterated in the first day?
Yeah,
all the genius picks you made on day 2 really don't matter. You can have some great picks on the second day, but you're so down at the bottom of your competition that
you can't get back.
It's not going to move you up. That's what makes the second day kind of frustrating. But anyway, West Virginia is leading Murray State 69-55, 4:48 to play. 45 seconds to go. This is a good one. Texas leading Nevada. Texas a 10, Nevada a 7, 66-65. Longhorns over the Wolf Pack. Other scores today, Texas A&M got off to a terrible start against Providence. It took them like 6 minutes to score or something like that. They end up winning, though, 73-69. So the Aggies move on. Purdue, no trouble with Cal State Fullerton, 74-48, but they lost a key player.
Isaac Haas
in that game.
Out for the rest of the tournament with a fractured elbow. Our friend Matt Connolly, who's a Purdue alum, wants to donate his elbow to Isaac, but to no avail.
His elbow's not big enough.
When you look at it, he really draws the defense inside, but you still look at his size and wonder how he averaged less than 6 rebounds a game.
He probably is not very physical. Would be my guess.
Yeah.
Not knowing him. Marshall, as we mentioned, beat Wichita State 81-75 out in San Diego. That is a big surprise. A 13 over a 4.
Did you hear what Dan D'Antoni said jokingly after the game? He said, "We're ready to play my brother's team now."
Oh.
That's 2 13s, by the way, that have won in the opening round, 27 and 28 all time since 1985 when they expanded to 64. And, of course, Charleston is another one tonight.
And, of course, his brother's team is the Houston Rockets.
Exactly. Cincinnati now 31-4 beat Georgia State 68-53. North Carolina playing on its home floor in Charlotte defeated Lipscomb 84-66.
That's fun.
That's true.
I like it.
Butler over Arkansas. Boy, Arkansas takes the gas again.
It's funny.
79-62.
That's the first time in any tournament stop for Mike Anderson that he has lost to a lower seed. Every time he's lost, it's been to a higher seed.
All right, so coming up, of course, you know what we have coming up locally. The other games to look forward to tonight, the 6:50 tip, Kansas State Creighton in Charlotte. At 7:10 in Detroit, Bucknell and Michigan State. 7:20 in Nashville, Texas Southern and Xavier. And then we get to the Charleston game in Charleston and Auburn at 7:27 in San Diego. The 9:20 tip in Charlotte is Maryland, Baltimore County, and Virginia. 9:40 in Detroit, Syracuse and TCU. And then we get to the 9:50 game. That's going to be in Nashville, Florida State and Missouri.
Yeah.
Interesting game.
And the last game of the first round, New Mexico State and Clemson at 9:57 in San Diego.
So in this Texas-Nevada game, Texas got called for a foul. Mo Bamba, the sensational post player for Texas, got called for a foul. He fouled out, and they have a guy at the free throw line with a chance to either tie or take the lead with 3.8 to play.
How about that?
Wow. The surprise to me is I thought really – looking at the teams looking at the conferences with the most bids, I thought SEC would have more than one blemish at this point. But 5-1.
Well, how about Alabama last night?
That was pretty crazy.
I mean, Sexton is
he's a man.
It's incredible. He is incredible.
He reminds me. You know what? In the tournament so far, who he reminds me of a one-man gang was Isaiah Thomas, meaning Indiana's Isaiah Thomas. That year they made the run through the tournament, and the ACC
got a little Kemba Walker in him. A little Kemba Walker.
Yeah, and surprisingly, the ACC coming out of the blocks 1 and 3 until North Carolina wins.
All right, still waiting on somebody with a perfect bracket to give us a call. 800-956-7266. Let us hear from you. 800-956-7266. Baseball cranking up at Doug Kingsmore Stadium in about 4 minutes. Clemson and NC State. You heard Monty Lee with us last night. Big series for the Tigers, who are off to a great start, but he's not buying into anything, not ready to crown his team as anything beyond what they are right now. 16-1 and 3-0 in the league, and he sees a very tough NC State team coming to their place this weekend. Be a big test. This NC State team, as he told us last night, is loaded with offense.
Right, and I'm curious to see how Jacob Hennessy handles it. You know, Hennessy is not your prototypical Friday night guy with like the high strikeouts. He's had some strikeouts in volume, but in a lot of the other series, you know, he's kind of pitched a lot to contact. So I'm very curious to see how he looks in this series, and also what kind of leash Monty Lee has on him, because he talked about that pitching depth. That pitching depth for him, it's a lot deeper than I'm sure he thought it was going to be in the fall and even at the beginning of the season. So you wonder how much he leans on the other arms and how they organize that series from a pitching standpoint.
And in Columbia tonight, I'm looking forward to this. Over the weekend, USC and Florida. Here's another test for Mark Kingston and the Gamecocks against the defending national champions, another Florida team that's having a great year at 16-3. The Gamecocks are 12-5. SEC opener for both. And so
did he
really?
Oh, he missed the free throw.
And so the Gamecocks, you know, after losing the series to Clemson and after losing all those series in a row in SEC play to close out last year, this is a chance to kind of show their fans what they've got this year. Are they going to be contenders in the SEC? Can they return themselves to national prominence? Is this a team that's going to make the NCAA regionals, maybe even be good enough to host a regional? Again, with the 5 non-league losses already on the schedule out of 17 games, when it comes to this SEC play, they don't have a lot of wiggle room. You know, right. they finished 15-15, let's say, in SEC play. Well, that's 20 losses. That means you've won 36 games, and that should be probably good enough to get you into the tournament going 15-15 in the league, but it's probably going to send you on the road somewhere.
Yeah, that's the problem with the way that the NCAA tournament works, is that you basically have to win series. That's basically your charge. If you're a team like South Carolina right now in the non-conference with what you had and the losses that you took, you basically have to look at every series and say you got to win every series.
I could tell you, though,
at least at home.
You could tell that the team actually is sort of in that feeling out process. And some of those games, you got to figure that with the new coaching staff, you know, once you come under fire, the players have to learn what buttons their coach is trying to push. And I think they've learned that through the non-conference, even though they had to take some painful losses to some lower teams. So it'll be interesting to see also Florida. Corn, you can say this, Florida's had talent all along through the years, but for whatever reason, they always played tight. But now I think this Gator team has learned to relax. And you can relax when you got a set of arms they have.
Well, the thing about it is, too, Mark Hinks is not a miracle worker. We're working with a lot of the same staff here with South Carolina. They're pretty much the same.
But they weren't that far
characters.
off last year, if you look at their game.
They opened 5-1 in SEC play last year. They swept Tennessee. They took 2 out of 3 from Alabama. They didn't win an SEC series the rest of the way. They didn't get swept.
And we saw what happened to Alabama down the stretch, too, last year.
Right, but I'm saying they didn't get swept, but they didn't win a series. So that's why, to Gamecock fans, it's time for the team to kind of show them something, especially after losing the series to Clemson. We'll be right back. All right, they've gone to overtime. Nevada and Texas. Longhorns up 76-73. Boy, Nevada had a great chance to win the game in regulation, but missed a free throw. Got a turnover as Texas tried to inbounds, but could not make the shot that would have saved them from having to go into overtime. So keep an eye on that for you. By the way, here in Columbia this weekend, it's the North-South All-Star basketball games. You probably didn't know that. It has not received a bunch of publicity. This is not to be confused with the Carolina's All-Star Challenge games, which are next weekend in Wilmington. That's moved from Myrtle Beach to Wilmington. This is the North-South game. This is the next group of players who weren't picked for the Carolina's team to play in that event next week. So just want to let you know that they'll be holding these games tomorrow at Lexington High School. You got boys games and girls games. And so if you're interested in getting out and seeing some all-stars from across the states, you can do that tomorrow. They have been practicing the last couple of days.
Is Zion playing in the Carolina class?
He is not a high school league player. He's a player. It's only open. They should. I mean, if they wanted to win, they should select him. But I don't think you can take a player out of Skeeza.
Well, he is also playing in that Jordan Classic up in Chicago.
Right. And we've seen a lot of the big-time players in our state skip that Carolina's All-Star Classic over the years because you're limited to 2 All-Star games.
Right.
And they wanted to play in the national games, which, All-Star games in basketball, to me, pretty much a waste of time because it's really individual play, a lot of turnovers,
a lot of one-on-one action,
a lot of slam dunks, not much defense being played. Then again, having covered the All-Star Classic for a number of years, at times they have had some good ball games, and especially in the final, 10 minutes or so, things tighten up and guys get after it.
Well, I think it has kind of like, even you think about the NBA All-Star game over the last couple of years, when it's gotten down to the nitty-gritty, final minutes, that's when, you kind of get that street league, that, Rucker Park type atmosphere where you got guys who are taking shots and guys who are actually playing defense. That's when those games get exciting.
Yeah, and of course, when the guards hogging the ball, if a big man gets his hand on it, it ain't coming back out because he's not going to see it again. So
kind of like the way Clemson plays offense sometimes. Whoops.
Now some news notes for you today, some things to pass along.
I'm sorry, I'm just Elijah Thomas's representation right here.
JoJo English, the former Gamecock basketball star, has been named the new head boys coach at Richland Northeast.
Okay.
He had been at Lower Richland for several years, or was he at Sumter? He was at Sumter and Lower Richland, wasn't he? Didn't he coach at I know he played at Lower Richland. I think he coached at Sumter. Then he went to Catawba for almost 3 seasons, stepped down for health issues in December, and now is coming back to coach the boys team at Richland Northeast, which had a really, really tough year. Won only 1 game, I think, this past season. Taft Watson, the Hall of Fame high school basketball coach who coached boys and girls teams in our state for 47 years, passed away Thursday at the age of 96. He won 1,481 games between boys and girls, and that obviously is a state record. He led Terrells Bay to state championships on the same day back in 1994. He won the championship with the girls team, then he turned around and won the championship with the boys team. In all, he won 7 state championships. He was inducted into the South Carolina Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame, the Athletic Administrators Association Hall of Fame, the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame, and the National Federation of High Schools Hall of Fame. Plus, he was a genuinely nice guy, if you ever got a chance to talk to him. This story is kind of interesting. At least it was to me. Dawn Staley told ESPNW in a story that came out today that while coaching the USC team last year and winning all those games and winning the national championship, she was in serious health issues.
Yeah.
She said she suffered from chronic chest pain so intense she couldn't exercise, sleep soundly, or speak. She was diagnosed with pericarditis. Now, I don't like to talk about a bunch of personal stuff. I never do, but I'll just say that I am familiar with that, and I know what she was going through, and it ain't a lot of fun at all. It's very painful, and they were able to – she didn't go to the doctor. I mean, she didn't go to the hospital. I mean, she went to her doctor, and, there are ways to treat it, hospitalization, and doctors recommended at one point surgery. She didn't do any of that. She went on to coach during the season, didn't tell the team or her family. And according to the feature, she now has the disease under control with medication and regular checkups with the doctor. And she's telling her story now in hopes of helping someone else with the same problem. There are fewer than 200,000 cases of pericarditis each year. What it is, in simple terms, is inflammation around the heart.
Right.
And you have a virus. You can have a bad cold or a virus, and it can become very serious if it gets into the heart. You know, you hope that it doesn't do that. The carditis is the lining around the heart, and it becomes inflamed. And the pain is substantial. It shoots up and down through your shoulders, into your back, across your chest. You think you're having a heart attack sometimes. It's just very, very painful. You can't sleep. You can't move in certain ways. And, you know, in my case, it was just treated with,
antibiotics.
Well, the doctors told me we can go in there with a needle. Yeah. But they also said we don't want to do that because nobody here has really done that before. So I said, what else can we do? And they treated it with medication, and it eventually cleared up.
Well, you know, one of the key points is sometimes, you know, you hear that old adage that sometimes the cure is worse than the disease. And of course, one of the things I know they have to do for it is give you a steroid.
Right.
Now, anytime you have any problems around the heart, the last thing you should be thinking about is gaining weight. And that puts weight on you. And of course, she gained some weight using the steroid. And I guess that might have exacerbated the problem, but it helped her to
when you have it, you just want something to kill the pain. You just want something, you know, they gave me morphine. And boy, I said, give me more of that. I'll take some more of that. But
that make you a little wobbly.
So to ease the pain, you couldn't go to a Red Dot store and ease the pain.
Well, I'll just tell you this. Again, I don't want to, this happened several years ago. If you were paying attention, I was away for about 4 or 5 days, and I was not on vacation. But I was trying to cut the grass one day, and I couldn't make it more than 2 times up and back in my yard, you know, pushing a mower, which typically is not an issue. And I realized then that I had something going on that had to be checked out.
Well, Shaka Smart will be pushing them more in a couple of minutes or so because Nevada just went on a run and just bombing some threes, and looks like they're going to move ahead in the tournament. And sitting on the Nevada bench, by the way, is the fired LSU coach, Johnny Jones, who's an assistant at Nevada now.
You know, the Nevada coach, good friend of mine, Eric Musselman.
That doesn't surprise me.
He and his wife are very good friends.
Yeah. Are you close with Shaka Smart too?
I'm not.
Are you very close with Shaka Smart?
I'm not close with Shaka Smart.
Yeah. I happen to be friends with Shaka Smart.
Are you?
Yes.
From his Clemson days.
From his
Clemson days and VCU
I
days?
say friends. I mean, I knew him. Not at VCU, but I knew him when he was at Clemson, of course. Used to talk to him, say hello, things like that. Speaking of Clemson, former Clemson corner Bashad Breeland, who was going to be signing with the Panthers, but the team announced that he failed his physical. Non-football related injury, and he would not be signed. They'd agreed to terms on Tuesday. This is from the Charlotte Observer and also Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network. He reported that Breeland had suffered a cut on his foot that got badly infected and that he likely would not be able to pass a physical for a few months. Also with the Panthers, they will have a new backup tight end to Greg Olsen. Ed Dixon signed with Seattle today.
Whoa.
And so the Panthers hosted Eric Ebron on a free agent visit, the former Detroit Lion and former Tar Heel. Also, Olsen was up at ESPN today auditioning for the analyst role on Monday Night Football.
Well, that's just crazy.
Now, the source is telling the Observer that he doesn't plan to leave football right now. It's just something he's doing to prepare himself for the future. He is 33 years old, but he is going to get paid $6.5 million for 2018.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.
These guys, they never sleep. Check them out on the web at SportsTalkSC.com. Now, more of Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
We will update some recruiting for you here in just a moment. You want to update the basketball?
I have a basketball note and I have a golf note as well. Virginia leading California 55-52 in the fourth quarter. Winner of that game again takes on USC. And Doc Redman has made the cut at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He shot a second consecutive even par 72 on Friday. He has made the 36-hole cut, the first Clemson golfer to make a cut at a PGA Tour event while still a Clemson student since Chris Patton did so at the 1990 Masters.
You had a score in that Clemson game very early.
1-0 NC State leads middle of the first.
And how they get that run?
From Mr. Kinnaman of NC State.
And how'd he do it?
Yard.
Somebody left a pitch up.
Monty knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Got to be careful. What did he say last night? There's 17 inches across that plate, and you want to pitch to him a third on the outside, a third on the inside. Anything else, he's going to barrel it up.
And not belt high.
First pitch home run, by the way.
Oh, my goodness.
His 9th of the season.
And not belt high.
I cannot believe that Monty quoted Teddy Hefner in describing baseball to us last night.
Is that a thing?
You know, that's Teddy created the saying, it's a round bat and it's a round ball and you have to hit it square.
He created that?
Teddy Hefner did.
I thought
I think it was 1967 in an interview with Ernie Trubiano of the State. I think he made that comment.
I thought he got that from Joe Garagiola.
I'm telling you, Teddy Hefner came up with that slogan
or
that comment, whatever you want to call it. There goes your boy walking off the field.
Look at Eric. Look at Muss, man.
Now his dad was the NBA coach, right?
No, that's him. Eric Busselman. He used to coach in the NBA.
No, his dad used to coach in the NBA.
They both did. They both did. He was also
Eric was Eric ever a head coach?
He was I
know his dad was.
He was an assistant with the Timberwolves, Magic, and Hawks. He also coached with Golden State in Sacramento.
His dad was a head coach at the University of Minnesota, too.
He's the son of former NBA coach Bill Musselman.
One thing I am noticing, and again, maybe it's just me, I'm seeing a lot of empty seats in these arenas.
Yes.
Which is this is NCAA. Look at that. This is NCAA tournament basketball, and usually the arenas are. I wonder, I'll be interested to hear what the attendance figures look like, the percentage of attendance to the size of the arenas and that sort of stuff.
Well, a lot of this it has to do with the way the tickets are sold.
This is Charlotte, and this is Kansas State and Creighton tipping off. This is Charlotte. Of course, Tar Heel fans probably. Of course, that was the early session. This is the
evening session.
The evening session, and a lot of empty seats there.
Well, again, the way that it's usually sold is you can either buy an all-session pass, which gets you into all the games, or you can buy the session, which is 2 games at a time for the first day, and then obviously the one game for the early session on the second day, and then the one for the evening. So again, it really kind of varies on the way that these tournaments are, because usually with each of these cities, there's like one main draw. Like, for example, Michigan State has Detroit. UNC has obviously the big draw in Charlotte. I know Dallas had the Texas Tech draw yesterday. So, again, there's really only one main draw for a lot of these cities.
But see, that's what made Greenville so special last year. You had South Carolina. You had North Carolina. You had Duke. You had 3 big draws, all within easy driving range of Greenville.
And even
Wichita had Kansas as well.
Arkansas had a representative group because they always travel.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, a lot of these games do not have very high attendance. There was one game I was watching last night. I think it was in Dallas, the night session, where it looked like there might have been 100 people in the stands.
Hey, check out foundersfcu.com. Learn how they can assist you in all of your financial needs. We're going to assist you now in all your recruiting needs. An update on tight end Luke Deal of Emerald. He's getting things done in a hurry. He might have more official visits planned for the early visitation period than anybody in the country. He is taking advantage of this because he wants to make his decision no later than the end of May. So he's going to visit officially now NC State April 7th, Michigan April 14th, Notre Dame April 18th. He's also planning to take one to Ohio State. He has not yet decided on a 5th visit. He has taken unofficials to Clemson and Auburn, and his last official visit won't go to a school within his driving range. He has a return unofficial visit planned to Clemson March 29th through the 30th, and he will take his mother with him on that visit so they can check out the campus life and the academic side of things. He's been in a lot of conversations with the Clemson coaches Pierman and Reed. He likes those guys. Pierman has talked to him a good bit about how they would use him, his ability to play as a tight end on the line of scrimmage, or to flex out, or to go to H-back. He can do all of those, he thinks, and he thinks that's something unique to him that he could bring to that program and to any program. Of course, he did grow up a Clemson fan. He's been going to games there for years. His sister is graduating from Clemson this spring, so he has strong ties there. But he's not ready to say that this is open and shut for Clemson. He said they're definitely in the race, but he's going to check everything out. And you never know. He said it could be someplace up north where he wants to go. He's going to check out what all the schools have to offer him when he gets it down to his small list. And he will not mind going outside the area for college. Some of the other offers are Georgia, Purdue, Michigan, Florida, Rice, South Florida, and Southern Cal. Athletic quarterback John Rice Plumlee of Hattiesburg, Mississippi, was at Clemson Thursday for several hours. He talked primarily with quarterbacks coach Brandon Streeter. He also had some conversation with Dabo Sweeney. Said he really liked it, liked the facilities, seems like a nice college. And he's a threat as a passer and a runner. And, Clemson was telling him when they had Deshaun Watson, they were almost 50-50 between the run and the pass. So he could do the same thing for them. It would fit him in terms of their offense. Clemson has not offered yet. He said they told him they have 4 possible guys they're looking at, and he is on the list. He would love to get an offer from Clemson at some point. If he were to get a Clemson offer, he said it would mean a whole lot to him.
Last thing they need is another quarterback. I can tell you that right now.
I
know you recruit one in every class just because you get one, but that's one position. That's one position where they are not. They're not long on.
Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame, Florida, Nebraska, Ole Miss, North Carolina, Mississippi State, Auburn, and others are his offers. Last season, he passed for 1,759 yards and 14 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, and he rushed for 599 yards and 8 touchdowns. And he was at South Alabama Monday, Georgia Wednesday, and UAB today. He is not signing he's not graduating early because he plays baseball. Not sure when he'll make his decision or when he'll sign. Quarterback Ryan Helinski of Orange, California, who was at USC earlier in the month, has told 24/7 Sports that USC will be one of the schools on his short list when he cuts things down. Clemson target linebacker Keith McGuire of Malvern, Pennsylvania, was offered by Michigan. USC target defensive end Rashad Cheney of Atlanta announced a top 7 of Penn State, Miami, Minnesota, Alabama, Georgia Tech, Georgia State, and Florida. We reached him last night because in late January, he said South Carolina was strong with him, but he told us last night that he just felt better about the other schools. He said, I just feel like these schools are best for me. Clemson offered defensive end Enos DeCosmo, Oradell, New Jersey. Some of his other offers are Michigan, Boston College, Nebraska, and Syracuse. There you go with recruiting. We have a little bit of a calm time in recruiting right now. USC is on spring break through the weekend. Clemson is now going on spring break. There's no spring football at either place. So things are a little bit quiet for the first time in a long, long time. But USC goes back on the practice field next week, so they'll start having visitors coming through again. Schools will be going on spring practice, so kids will be getting out and making those trips to check out a variety of different schools. So things will start to crank back up very quickly.
I know Frank Martin on the basketball side was recruiting yesterday in advance of his television appearance that will take place this weekend on TV.
Yeah. Well, you never stop recruiting. It might just seem like it to the outside world that things are calming down, but there's always phone calls being made. There's always text messages being delivered, and you're always making plans for people to visit. Looking at South Carolina basketball, I'm glad you brought that up, and looking at their roster right now, they still have one spot they can fill unless they have some departures. There's still one spot they can fill. I got to think that they are thinking Jalik Felton, quite possibly, if everything can get worked out and if there is a high level of interest. I'm sure there'll be interest from South Carolina in him, and I would think he would feel that way towards them. If all the stuff that led to him leaving North Carolina is not a problem for him getting into South Carolina. All right, top of the hour break, and we'll be back.